Right now in Washington, the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee is hearing from top Trump administration officials about the Iran war. They are being questioned on what they knew and when, and why Iran was perceived as an imminent threat. It's an annual meeting, but today's gathering takes place in the shadow of war. For more on this, I want to bring in journalist Tony Waterman in Washington. So, Tony, what have we been hearing so far?
Well, this testimony has now shifted behind closed doors, but during the public portion, lawmakers really pressed these top intelligence officials on what they told the president before he made the decision to start this war with Iran. And Democrats in particular wanted to know if Trump was briefed on the downsides of engagement, whether the president was aware of the possibility of Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, or if he was aware that Iran may attack its neighbors. The director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and the Director of Central Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, wouldn't say whether they briefed Trump on these things, but they did say that this information was widely known to the intelligence community.
Were you asked, I'm not asking if you did brief this, were you asked to brief on whether Iran would close the Strait of Hormuz?
I'm not going to comment on what the president did or didn't ask me on any topic.
I'm not asking if you briefed it. I'm just asking if there was a request.
I understand
by the White House. It's just to point out here, it's challenging to forget about actually what was in the brief for a second. We're having a hard time finding out not only if you briefed the president on something, but even if the White House asked if they could be briefed on something.
What these Democrats are really trying to understand is whether President Trump ignored this information or was simply not made aware of these different scenarios. He had said earlier this week, for example, that he was shocked that Iran has attacked its Gulf neighbors, but reporting has shown that he was, in fact, briefed on this as one of the possibilities.
Intelligence officials were asked whether Iran was an imminent threat to the United States. What did they say about that?
Well, Director Gabbard told lawmakers that U.S. intelligence had concluded that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was destroyed during Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. This was when the U.S. dropped those bunker-busting bombs on Iran's main nuclear sites. She also confirmed that there has been no effort on Iran's part to rebuild their enrichment capability since that bombing last June. But in this back and forth with Democratic Senator John Ossoff, she declined to say if Iran posed an imminent threat before this war started.
That make up this annual threat assessment.
You won't answer the question.
It is the nature of the imminent threat that the president has to make that determination based on a collection and volume of information and intelligence that he is provided with.
You're here to be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations.
Exactly what I'm doing.
No, you're evading a question because to provide a candid response to the committee would contradict a statement from the White House.
This question about whether Iran posed an imminent threat has really dogged the Trump administration since this all started. And just yesterday, a top intelligence aide to Tulsi Gabbard, Joe Kent, quit. He said he couldn't, in good conscience, back this war because there was no imminent threat posed by Iran. And he claimed that this was all being orchestrated by Israel. Now, the other interesting bit here was a back and forth between Democratic Senator Jack Reed and the CIA Director Ratcliffe about whether or not Russia has been providing Iran with intelligence on U.S. targets. The Trump administration says that it has asked the Kremlin if this was happening and is taking Russia at its word that it's not, but the CIA director sees it very differently.
You take President Putin at his word?
I'll go ahead and answer. No, I don't take Vladimir Putin at his word.
Are they providing intelligence to the Iranians?
That the Iranians are requesting intelligence assistance from Russia, from China, and from other adversaries of the United States, and whether or not those countries are is something we can talk about in the classified portion.
So that's probably one of the top questions that these Democrats have, because Russia is really seen as a beneficiary of this war. The Trump administration, because of these spiking energy prices, has eased oil sanctions against Russia, which is going to net them billions of dollars in fresh funds for the war in Ukraine. And if they are providing Iran with intelligence to hit U.S. military installations, that is going to be hugely problematic for the White House, for the American people, and of course for American soldiers.
Tony, thank you. Journalist Tony Waterman, live in Washington.